Welcome. We're going to wait for the meeting to populate a little bit here. Things are gonna get cracking. We had 134 athletes in the first one, so it went crazy. So hopefully we'll have the same amount, if not more, athletes come and join us this time.
We're actually putting up big numbers, as always.
It helps when you touch the ball every rally. I mean, that helps pad the stats, right? So maybe some light banter while we're waiting for a few people to come in. You're currently out of quarantine, yeah?
Yes, out of quarantine. Had to self-isolate for 14 days coming from Sydney, but we're just into our premier announced a snap lockdown, so literally 2 days of like roaming free, and then today was the announcement. So yeah, but you guys up in Sydney are doing it tough as well. So
extended the special. Yeah, we're in it, man. But it's a countrywide thing, Queensland as well. And I'm not too sure if we touched on this, but our athletes won't be able to go to Bendigo. I can't see that event happening. So another campaign for AYVVC, unfortunately.
Man, it's crazy.
No longer in the cards, man. Well, listen, out of respect for your time and those who showed up on time, other people may come in. I'll have Lauren kind of bring them in, but I want to say welcome to episode 2. We got Mote. Is it a little spice at the end? How do I say your last name?
Yeah, that's it.
Mote. That's it. Beautiful. Well, welcome. We got an amazing volleyroo here. Middle blocker extraordinaire. We're going to be diving into the position and as well as just some amazing progression. As you can see, we got a vintage NSW jersey on Nemo, which is sweet for the occasion. Thank you for that. That's actually pretty good swag. That's some good style for single digit 2000s.
Yeah, I like the color. I mean,
good.
We didn't do too well, but we looked all right.
That's important, man. Well, let's go through a little bit of the flow, just so everybody knows what we're going to do here. We're just going to do a nice talk, kind of a conversation for 30 minutes to get to know Nemo, know where he came from, know his story, know his journey. That's always an enjoyable one because a lot of you guys can relate to Nemo and really trying to find that connection. Then we'll dive into a bit of a live video where Nemo and I are going to cover a few topics, some very specific to middle as a position and some just around volleyball, around teamwork, that kind of thing. And then at the end, so that last 30-minute piece is going to be more of a Q&A. So what I would say is we have Dimitri and Lauren working the back end of the chat. So if you have questions, you can ask it now. You can ask it throughout. They'll be collecting questions and they'll be sending that to me for the Q&A. So at any point in time, fire that into the chat, and then they'll be able to get that my way so I can ask Nemo, and we'll close it off around 8:30. Last time it kind of extended, but what we're just going to do is if you have a question, ask it in the chat. We'll have control, and then about 8:30 we'll shut it down. Sound all right, Nemo?
Sounds good.
Let's do it. Amazing. Well, I got to say this. When I first got here, everyone's talking about the most amazing volleyball player ever that came out of a church league. And they keep on talking about this guy named Nemo who played in a church league and all of a sudden showed up and jumped out of the gym. I thought that's an amazing story. So where do you come from, man? Where does the beginning start?
So from 2008ish, so when I was like in year 10, I played with my church in this annual comp on the grass. So
nice.
Yeah, so it's like very amateur, like very rough. Like I used to block sets. Like no one knew the rules. Like they would go up to set and I would like jump and block, and then they would just call, yeah, point. Like yeah, and guys from the back row were hitting, front row. So it was just very like, yeah, but it was a fun time. Probably when I think back at the times in volleyball where I had the most enjoyment, it goes back to back to church and back to the grass, where it was like, there were no lines, that we had like these branches sticking uh, on the corners to mark out
Amazing.
the ends. And it was, yeah, I mean, that was the beginning. That was when I first encountered the sport, watching cousins and watching yeah, family versus out there on the grass.
And was that in New South Wales?
Yeah, that was in New South Wales, southwest Sydney.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm from Campbelltown, and we would verse churches from Moorebank, from Liverpool, Punch Bowl.
Oh,
Yeah, and then one year, Jeremiah Belle, he also represented New South Wales in volleyball. He asked me if I wanted to trial for state, and I was like, all right, yeah, sweet. I didn't think anything of it. I then went to the trial. I made it, and he didn't. So
are you guys still
it
friends?
was, yeah. Well, we're family. He's my
Okay.
cousin. So
Okay.
yeah. But that's when this whole volley thing sort of started.
That's when the journey began. How old were you when that one happened?
I was 19.
19. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. And were you fully grown at that point? Were you a big boy?
Yeah, I think I was probably like maybe a centimeter under my full height, which was like I'm 203. Maybe I was like 202 back then.
Okay.
Could jump, couldn't really do anything else, was quite raw. I played a lot of basketball before volley. So a lot of the footwork stuff and the dynamic movements sort of transferred over quite well. It was just a matter of learning the game, learning, how to actually hit a ball over the net instead of air swinging and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's actually going to be a really nice progression, man, because I love the idea of a late athlete, late entry athlete. I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of kids specializing early and feeling the pressure. So to be an athlete and be able to enter at 17, 18, I think is awesome. 19. Moving all the way to the end, or to where we currently are, I want to paint a picture. Where do you currently play? Where are you currently at?
So right now, I just signed a 2-year deal with Berlin Recycling Volley. So for those who don't know, Berlin is the reigning champions in the volleyball Bundesliga, which is the top volleyball league in Germany, top division. Yeah, and I had 2 years with Friedrichshafen, the second team. So, which it's been an arm wrestle for decades, these two teams. We lost this time. I was hoping to win, so then it wasn't like, the narrative was like, oh, he's jumping ship. Yeah, but it is what it is. So I'm with Berlin, and pretty excited for the next two seasons to come.
Awesome, man. Well, congrats on that contract. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Any Canadians out there that you're playing with? I think I've got a couple fellow Canadians playing in Germany.
Oh yeah, there's two guys I know that's playing in Friedrichshafen, the second team. It was Van Berkel and Ban,
Yep.
the libero.
Yep, Blair Ban. Yep.
Yeah, and those guys are actually, or they were part of the Canadian team in the Olympics just now. So
Yep.
yeah, quality players.
Good dudes and good players. Well, there's a lot of people here who may not have context there's a lot of great international leagues out there. How does the German league compare on the world scale?
Uh, I'd say it'd be for sure in the top 10. It would be around the level of France. France maybe stronger, top to bottom. It sort of goes like, the Russias, the Poland, Italy, and then yeah, possibly France, Germany in terms of European leagues.
And have you played in any other leagues in Europe?
The only other league was Switzerland. So yeah, that was coming back from injury in 2016. I dislocated my right knee during a match. It was against Belgium in Sydney. And yeah, coming back from rehab, I signed a half-year contract with Switzerland, sort of like a springboard, sort of like get back into the game sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was pretty fun. Very expensive over there in Switzerland. If anyone decides to travel there, make sure your bank is
Yeah, when we traveled there for beach volleyball, that would always hit our pockets. That and Austria always crushed us. Well, pulling it back. So now we know kind of where you're currently at. Let's fill in the blanks. Let's fill in the middle. So you tried out for state, made state team back in the day. Take us through a little bit of your journey to get to where you are today.
Yeah. So I feel like it's important to, like, part of my journey was the fact that at the beginning I wasn't allowed to play sport at all. My parents were all very education based, and being one of 9 siblings, yeah, I sort of had to make sure that education was being prioritized, and sort of to break the cycle that we were under. Like housing commission, so I don't know, hand-me-down stuff. Like, we had 3-bedroom with 3 bunk beds in 2 of the rooms. So it was a rough like time looking back, but I'm grateful that I had that sort of upbringing that taught a lot about what sort of really matters, instilled good values of and good virtues of respect, patience, and things like that. So with my parents not allowing us to pursue sport, it was a way for them to, like, all right, it's not like, it wasn't like they didn't believe in us that we could make it in sport. It was more like, all right, we believe that this avenue has more to offer, so like uni and stuff like that. So that's why I wasn't allowed to pursue at a young age, but I always wanted to play sport. Like, they would ask me what I want to do, and I would say what they wanted to hear. So it was doctor, it was all this random stuff. But deep down, I wanted to earn money playing whatever sport. And yeah, so.
Can I ask, can we just stay there for a second? That's so fascinating. Like that, did you have any cousins or any other athletes? Because clearly you come from a gifted genetic pool, right? I mean, you're a big boy, you jump, you're coordinated. So I can assume that some of your family members, were potential athletes as well, cousins. Like, what was it, just within your family you couldn't do that? Or, it paints a little bit of a picture there, because that's such an incredible part to your story.
Yeah, well, my older brother actually played NBL. So he played a bit of basketball. He played Australian Schoolboys alongside Paddy Mills, who we just watched unfortunately go down to the US. But yeah, and he had a very short career, and because of injury and things like that, but he had nothing to fall back on.
Right.
So possibly parents seeing him go through that and then having nothing sort of there afterwards. But also, I feel like it's a cultural thing within, I don't know, Polynesian families and communities, where unless it's like you're, playing rugby league, or I don't know, like a crazy superstar, the odds are sort of stacked. Yeah, and also we had a lot. I had a lot of siblings. I mean, I have a lot of siblings, sorry, and to invest money into sport and sort of wasn't really a priority back then. So
Got it. Got it. And can we just double click on some of the virtues that you spoke about, man? You don't hear a lot of athletes talk about virtues. You don't. It's challenging to hear people who have really strong principles. It sounds like, and a few people have spoken about this, man, that you're just a really quality human being, super humble, really nice. For you as a human being, what did some of the I guess things that your parents taught you that you're still enacting to this day? Maybe let's talk about a little bit about that.
there's countless examples and lessons I've learned walking my path to where I am. Um, mm, there's a few there that sort of still stick out, which is like my dad used to say in Samoan, like whenever you go into anything, act like you know nothing. Um, Whereas like it's not, back then I was like, the teacher's asking me um, about the question, I need to like show that I know it. Whereas it's more, I felt like later on I realized it was more um, have that restraint. Obviously you want to respect um, people and things like that, but know the relationship, know who you're working with, know um, your boundaries and your limitations and things like that, and work within that. um and just things like, just little things like wasting food and still, I don't know, like ah, actually I wouldn't know you to have any examples of like different virtues, but
Well, that's okay. I mean,
when it happens overseas, like I found myself like, oh, that's what they meant. Like when
right.
things, yeah, when I first moved over to Europe, that was pretty hard, and those lessons were reminded in different moments where I was able to cope with situations differently to, say, my teammates, coping with adversity, loss, things like that.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, that's all good. Well, I'm sure we'll touch into some of these as we go on and we tell more stories. So I would really like to understand how you were able to play that, because here we are, you're a professional volleyball player now. So talk a little bit about how you were able to break through that boundaries and maybe get your parents' consent to play sport.
Yeah. Um, as soon as I made it to uni, I'm the first one out of my family to make it to uni and be accepted. And from then on, like, I went to my parents straight away, and they were like, "You can do what you want. You've done what we've wanted. Now you can do it." And straight away, I just went to Google and typed in Sydney volleyball clubs. First one came up was Balcombe Hills Volleyball Club, and didn't even look at anything else. Clicked on it, called the guy up, and I just wanted to, start learning how to play. and it was only just for fun. I didn't have any thought of, oh man, I want to play overseas or I want to play for Australia. No, it was just like I was really impressed with watching volleyball on TV and on YouTube. Probably seen every single YouTube video on volley just from before. Yeah, I was obsessed, and then I called him up, and then signed me up for social volleyball mixed, and where I used to walk, train, bus, train to so it was like 2 hour trek there and back, and I used to do that. Sometimes I would get home like after midnight, and my parents would feel sorry for me and be like, look, you're doing all this for just social, like, we love it that you're doing it, but there's not much else. It's just social volleyball, you're just playing for fun. I'm like, that's what I want to do, guys. I just want to keep learning.
Yeah.
So they were sympathetic, but I knew that I was doing what I really wanted to do, and the train rides and the bus rides weren't going to stop me.
Right on.
And it was through Balcombe Hills at a tournament called Good Neighbor, which probably
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Canberra. Yeah, so I went down with the team that same year, 2012. And Ben Hardy, who was a legend of Australian volleyball, and Russell Bourgeot, who was a former captain and former coach for Australia. They sort of scouted me and saw that I had potential. I could jump. Mainly, I think it was that I could jump because I couldn't hit a ball, couldn't block, and I was relatively young-ish. So they took my name down, and I didn't think anything of it again. I was just down there to have fun. And then the call from Dan Eilert. Do you
Heard
know
of that
about this
name?
call? Yeah.
I've heard, but I haven't heard about the call. Tell me about the call, man.
Well, multiple calls and multiple missed calls, and like emails that probably went straight to junk. He had tried to contact me for months.
Come on. No way.
So that day when I gave them my details, my number, they actioned it, but I didn't think, So it was a private number that continued to call for like 3 months straight, and I just didn't pick up private numbers. I was like, why do you want to hide, bro? So I
made him work for it.
yeah. And one time my missus just told me to pick it up, because they're just going to keep calling. So I picked it up, and it turned out to be the head coach for the development squad at the AIS. And he was like, man, I've been trying to call you for months, and I've been sending emails, and you haven't been, where have you been? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't pick up private numbers, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, look, we have an opportunity. We want you to come down to the AIS, see the facilities, and see if this is for you, full-time training. And I was like, hell yeah, in my head. So then, and then we ended the call. I didn't think twice. I was like, I'm doing this. They booked the bus. They hooked me up with accommodation, food, everything. I was already sold before I even jumped on the bus to go down there. I wanted to already do it. And it was just a matter of mum and dad giving the all clear. And they did, but it was a very tough one because no one's lived like outside Sydney or like interstate. This was a big move for us. And poly families, it's like if one of us moves, we all move, or like but
fair enough. Wow, man. So a lot of firsts in your family. How wild is that? Yeah. So what happened to your schooling in that case? Because if schooling was that important to your family and to you
Yeah,
potentially, did you continue to do schooling at AAS?
I try to. So I I'm quite good at like face to face, like attending lectures and sleeping in them. No jokes. Going to tutorials, that physical, you know, I like that. I tried to do the correspondence with full time training, and it wasn't for me. And I was aware of that, and I was like, look, I'm just gonna devote everything I have, all my energy into this.
Yeah.
Probably not the most, I don't know, because it could have just went, south. Um, I put all my eggs in one basket, and um, yeah,
Here we
no
are.
regrets.
Here
No
we are.
regrets.
Well, let's maybe go do a little bit of a fast forward then. So you spent some time at AIS. How long did you spend there, and maybe what was that progression like at AIS? Understanding, you didn't know how to block and hit a ball.
Yeah, I was there for 1 year,
Okay.
um, and so like right from the get go, they're like, you'll be on a trial for a scholarship, a trial period. So I just went in every single day, with like not wasting the opportunity at all, like ever. I just remember that mentality going each and every day, every weight session, every training session. I went in that I went in with that mentality of like, I'm gonna put 100% of what I have today in today, and we'll figure out tomorrow. You know, um, and it's similar to what my parents had told me before leaving for Canberra. My old man and my mum said in Samoan, when you leave, uh, like when you close that door, like don't come back. Like as in like when you go, just go. Go. We're always going to be here supporting you. We're here for you. But go to see where the hell this takes you, because you've got an opportunity. And then in my head, I was like, wait, didn't you say I couldn't play magic?
That
You're back.
resonates. That resonates a lot. I had a similar experience, but it's not my interview. But that one really hits home, man. I love that. Like, go get it. Right.
Yeah.
No turning back. Make the most of it. Yeah, incredible. And clearly you have. So that's phenomenal. So 1 year at AIS,
Yep.
and maybe understanding we want to get into a little bit of discussion around volleyball itself and you as a player and how you play. Maybe let's give it another 5 minutes here. From that after that first year at AIS, understanding that's in and around that 2012 space. Maybe let's fill in some blanks. What's your journey been like from then till now? Let's just say just under a decade.
After the AIS.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
what
So
was the transition after
yeah,
AIS?
it was. Oh man, I feel like it was just a continual like this from 2012 here. 2013 was the scholarship AIS. I was there for 1 year. 2014, I signed my first professional contract in Germany,
Okay.
and it just kept going like this. This debut for the senior team in 2014 as well. So
Okay.
from the institute, it was just go go go. Our head coach spoke to direct, because I didn't have an agent at the time. I do now. But my first contract, I didn't score with an agent. It was just um, our head coach speaking to their head coach. Hey, we got this young guy who we believe is ready. And when I sat down with the meeting with the head coach and he had the contract out, I was like, do you think I'm ready? Like that's all I needed. Whatever answer he had for me then, I would have full confidence in that. And he said, yes, you're ready. And I was like, all right, sign, let's go. So I signed, and then I went. And the same ideas, the same things that I did at the AIS, I applied that to pro. So I did not, like every single opportunity I got, I'm still scrapping, I'm still crawling every day in the mud, or in my own figurative mud that I create myself,
Yep. Yep.
um, to not waste the opportunity, And then,
So good.
um, yeah, I did well. They re-signed me, and then on the second season, Berlin came knocking, which is crazy. I was 22, second year, and then a top team, in Europe actually even, comes knocking, and then injury, and then that's when the wave. I was like, honestly, during that whole period when it was like this, I was like, man, something has to, like, something's got to give. Like, you can't just keep going like this. And 2016 was when, yeah, I hit a little speed bump there.
And without getting too deep into it, knee, shoulder, back, hip, ankle, what was the situation?
Yeah, it was a right knee. It was a right. I dislocated it, but I didn't. It
Right,
wasn't
that's
even.
right.
It wasn't even like from jumping. So that's a little bit embarrassing because, yeah, like you with a pretty major injury, you would want it to have some sort of, cool story behind it. But it was legit. I was in position 6, sprawling for a ball, and it was boom, bam, 12 months
So you're playing backcourt in that sense. So you did it on defense. Is that what I'm feeling?
on defense, man.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy tips it, and I go, but my leg slips, so I couldn't sprawl as normal or like have that push off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then bada bing, bada boom.
Okay, well, listen, let's get into some live video footage and talk about your game. But one question kind of comes to mind because you clearly you're representing your family, you're representing your community, you've earned your right to be there. You definitely have worked your ass off in every situation. What does it mean to represent your country? What does it mean to you?
Oh man, it's pretty. I don't know. It's when I think about that, I think about the shirt that I gave my grandparents when I, um, um, debuted for Oz. Like, like the as I said back, a few, minutes ago, with how I was saying the odds were against us. Um, like, I wasn't really meant to be there if we really look at it from a, on paper. Um, but yeah, I mean, seeing their faces and, you know complete waterworks when I tell them, um, I'm representing the country. I'm named in the squad, to travel. So, it's something that's very special. Um, I just, yeah, you can't really deduce it into, you know,
There's a lot there.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, because it's the country. I don't know. Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's
It's
listen,
massive.
I love it, and I know it hits a deep spot because your family loves you, and you've clearly put a lot into it, and it's just amazing hearing stories like this where odds are stacked against someone, and they, you know, they persevere, right? And oftentimes it takes a family, a very very involved family, tons of support, a lot of hard learning to make it to that level, right? Oftentimes you don't make it to the national team on a free ride, so.
Yeah,
With
100.
all that pain, with all that challenge, it can mean a lot to people. So it's great to feel it anyways, man. It's amazing. Well, let's dive into a little bit of footage. How about that? Let's get a little change of pace. So, so what we're going to do now is watch a set. And I believe it's Slovenia that we're going to watch. We're going to watch a little Aussie versus Slovenia. Can you set the scene here for me, if you don't mind?
Scene. All right.
Yeah,
So
set the scene.
set the scene. So we're coming off a big win against Iran the night before, who obviously were representing Asia, or one of two teams representing Asia at the Olympics. And for a young team, relatively inexperienced team, to knock off Iran was massive. And we were going into this game with a lot of confidence, but also no expectations. Slovenia were third at that point of the tournament, and or maybe even second. So yeah, we were really keen for this battle. We knew it was going to be a tough one, but going into it, we didn't really know how they were going to start. Were they going to rest some of their starters, because they had a late match also before that game? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to watch set one. Understanding that, was there a specific game plan that you might be able to recall? Was there anything specifically that you remember that you were intentionally focused on going onto the field of play? Like were there some key hitters or anything for you as an athlete that you were focusing on?
Yeah, we knew that they're very solid starting six, but they're not as deep as, say, Poland and Brazil, other teams like that, where they're bench players. They're still quality players, but they're not as deep as. So we knew, all right, we're gonna prepare for the worst, which is their best guys, and then we're gonna make sure that we communicate when if they start with whatever team they have, make sure we adapt and communicate where we need to. So that was one of the main points, is because we were unsure how they were gonna come at us.
Yeah,
we were the ones not going to wait for them to make dictate how the game was going to start. We were going to be ready for whatever they threw. And the second thing was probably our service pressure. During some of the games beforehand, our error rate was too high. So bringing that down, but as well as making sure we're hitting our like targets. Some serves were good, but we were hitting the wrong targets. But from memory, those were the two big keys that we were going into the match.
Okay, amazing. And then maybe one thing for you as a middle, and I think we're going to have a pretty nice conversation around the middle. Anything for you in your position within that game plan that you're focusing on here? Anything could be on your side of the net, or could be on their side of the net.
Going into the game?
Yeah, going into the game. For you as a middle, your position.
For me, going into the Slovenia game, we knew they only play with two middles. And one of the middles gets a lot of ball and the other doesn't. So for me personally, that matchup in the middle, knowing who's on court, who's the opposition middle, and then making sure that I'm creating the plan at the net. For example, telling my left side blocker to help, or like when to help and when not to help. And also knowing when to read, when to throw in a few commits and things like that. So
beautiful. Yeah. That's a great start. Well, why don't we dive in, and what we'll do is throughout this chat. Can you see the video now?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So Just waiting on first serve. So we on the court here? You're not on the court to start. Shoot. So are you? Is your I guess are they putting you into that matchup for a specific reason, or generally speaking, are you
Generally,
not starting front row?
yeah, generally I'm close to the setter, close to
Okay.
Rashi,
Okay.
and Trenodo, who's now come to serve, he usually plays away from the setter.
Got it. Now that's an interesting point. What are some of the benefits of why someone would be positioned closer to the setter, or why someone would be positioned away from the setter?
Oof. Maybe one is when the setter's front row, and say you are more of a threat offensively.
Yep.
Um, that allows the front row setter to um, also play cat and mouse with their blockers in terms of dumping and being an offensive option, so that their position 4 and also their middle blocker have another thing to think about at the net.
Absolutely. And while we're on the subject of setter, we had a great chat with Arash last week. But how long you been playing with the Rash for, man? Because it seems like you guys have a pretty amazing connection.
I've been hitting under Rashi for since AIS. So yeah, I mean, when you have that many games and that many trainings under your belt, yeah, the connection's pretty seamless. Um, he knows the guys. He knows my hitting window, um, and he knows where I like the ball. So it's a luxury to have that experience under our belts and that connection. Definitely transferring that from AIS years ago now to the national team.
Awesome, man. Well, I won't ask you to share your secrets of where you like the ball, so we'll move it. If you could top level very quickly to say what are some of the top priorities for you as a blocker, just even breaking it down to the middle position at its
Yeah.
most fundamental levels. What are some of the key points for you as a middle?
One of the big things is knowing your opposition setter, um, studying him, knowing his tendencies. What does he like to do when the ball is perfect? What does he do when the ball is off the net, 3 meters? Where are his favorite options? When the ball is pushed to 4. Like studying the game plan is a big thing, and being well versed in the game plan before heading into a game is as important as the training sessions leading up to it, and making sure the body's good. The mental side is and the tactical side there is very important at this level, because a lot of the time that's the difference between winning and losing a set is remembering what the setter does in certain situations, and obviously knowing the hitter's tendencies as well. Um, our first priority in block is the opposition middle. So knowing where does he like to hit the ball, and what sort of sets does he run. Um, yeah.
No, that all makes sense, and I love that you go to the immediate thought is to blocking, and especially the international level. Like the middle blocker is so important, and the game is so fast. So we're in the middle of a challenge here, so we can't necessarily talk about the live play, but for you as a middle blocker, what are you looking for? Maybe, and it might even be a subconscious, man. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but like,
Yeah.
yes, there's the game plan. Yes, there's knowing certain things, but if
Mhm.
you're a raw athlete going out there, what's your order of looking, and what are some of the thought processes for you as a blocker? Because you have to make choices, right? You got to make
Mhm.
choices of committing and fronting the middle, getting to the outside. So maybe let's just have a little talk about how you make decisions as a blocker.
Yeah, so when I'm at the net, I would waiting for our serve, I would identify um, it- where the setter is, where the opposition setter is, what rotation he is, if he's front row or back row, and then basically from pass, you only actually need to see the pass for just the split second,
Yeah.
and then you take in that information, that trajectory of the pass, and then you can identify where that pass is going to be. Is it going to be close to the net, or you know, a few meters off? Um, and then it's just shifting your focus to the uh, setter's hands and his hand position. And there's a lot of different little nuances that we could go into, but basically it's from the pass, knowing the trajectory of the pass and location, and then the setter's hands, and from there you want to be just in a balanced position. um, you want to be nice and light on your feet. How coaches coaches different coaches have different ideas on where your hand position starts. I'm of the idea that wherever you're comfortable in your starting position with your hands is completely fine.
Yeah, I like that. I
And
like
then
that.
it's yeah, and then it's just from allowing the setter to make the first move instead of uh, gambling and guessing first. It's almost like the goalkeeper in soccer where you sort of wait that split second for him to make the move, and then you make yours.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that.
and then it's just about the technical side of the block, trying to get to the location as fast as possible with the least amount of energy, and staying clean and tidy with your body position and your hands.
Yeah. Love it. Well, thanks for that little clinic in blocking, and maybe when you get back on the court, we can break a few things down. Um, let's let's have a chat around energy. I've heard that you're just an awesome guy on the court, loving your vibe right now.
I want to
You
know
play.
who's been saying these things, because
It's a lot of people, man. I'm telling you, a lot of people are really proud of you coming out of New South Wales, man. There's a lot of love for you in New South Wales. But what's your role in the court off of the ball? What do you play? What role do you play on the court?
I just, for me, or what I try to do
Yeah,
is
okay,
yeah,
go for it.
what I try to do is just be that entity on the court that is always in the game. Like, it's never, I don't want to be too high, too low, but I always want to have that stable and positive vibe as well. Um, I feel like that's like, vibe is contagious. Um, and I think on vibe alone, uh, you can get someone out of their funk without even verbally saying anything,
Yep.
or you can also break someone down um, without even saying anything. So the importance of that, like, body language and things like that, I really put a high premium on for myself, and trying to encourage the teammates and just have fun. Try and have fun. I think you play your best volleyball, or your best any sport you play, or anything you do, you perform your best when you're less stressed, less worried about things, and also trying to help guys out of their tough situations and bring them out. And yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
amazing. Well, it looked like you guys had a ton of fun on the court from what I saw in the VNL, which was fantastic, and you obviously have a big role to play there. I'm just very curious because you spend half your time off the court.
Mm.
what's a strategy, or what do you think about when you're off the court, and then how you enter? Because I know a lot of the energy that you enter your court with, you might not be in for half the rotations, but how do you enter the court consciously after being off the
Hmm.
court, out of the rally for a bit?
Yeah. So when I'm on the bench there, I always try and stay engaged um, emotionally with the guys, but also looking at what the other guys, what the opposition set is doing as well. So it's it goes hand in hand with celebrating crazy with the guys if they do something good, and then also making mental notes of what the set is doing, so that um, I'm not just celebrating and on the court or on the side there like as a fan, but I'm also analyzing and using that time to um, yeah to using the time effectively, so that when I come back on court, I have a better idea of um, the opposition, what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like drinking and not even looking at the game, like because I'm trying to catch my breath after some long rallies, or trying to look out for some gummy bears, or I don't know, get some
No,
energy.
that's all sweet, man. Well, we're waiting for Arash to finish his service run here, so you can come on the court. Man, he's ripping bombs. Maybe talking a little bit more from an offensive side. So we dove into the block, and maybe we'll
Hmm.
chat about that when you come back on the court. But can
Yep.
you take me through some of the attacks as a middle, and maybe a few of the attacks that you really like to swing on, and why? What are opportunities you create through those sets?
It's pretty interesting because with the spiking, like personally, my attack, and that's the least amount of thought that I or like attention that I put before the game and like in
You're
trainings.
like the Dennis Rodman of
I'm trying
Australian
to.
volleyball. I love it.
If only the stats could show it, magic. Um, nah, like I really try and knuckle down on the defensive end. I really
Yeah,
enjoy that, and also I enjoyed that in basketball when I played.
yeah,
And then I sort of let the offense flow off that. And but what I we run basically everything. We run the ones, the close quicks, but we also throw in pushes and doubles. So the double is like you're drifting from the push position out
yeah.
to a shoot, basically, which is to create sort of your own space away from the blocker. We run the shoots. Also, we run the back shoot, which is sort of a recent addition.
Actually,
Um,
you know what? That would happen in the set that we watched with the Rash. There was a back shoot in there, so we dove into that one, and that sounds
yeah,
amazing. Just good chemistry between you guys, and
yeah,
really it worked.
yeah. I mean, uh, he has a lot of trust, and that's based off um, what we do in trainings. Um, Sometimes the broken play that we do is like really just off the cuff and uh, improv stuff, but performing that without any sort of preparation in trainings, and it would just be one of those plays that just you just throw out there um, with no faith. But because we do it in trainings, and we try different things, we're not scared to push the boundaries. Whereas I think one time we did it with our one of the former coaches, and he pulled me and, I think it was Harry Peacock at the time. He pulled us aside and was like, you guys gonna do that in a game, or what? Like, train what you do in a game. And we spoke to each other and we were like, well, to do it in the game, we got to train it here first. We got to try things out. So
Yeah,
we ended up continuing to do it, and we did it in games, and we continue to do it now.
good. That's great, man, and that's part of the Phoenix style of ball that we're looking to establish. Granted, we can get on the court is more of that creative, explorative style, and really trying to play off of that intuition and trust, exactly like you're saying. So great that you guys continue to explore it, and dude, it works, man.
Yeah.
The speed of the game is so fast nowadays that it can't be so rigid, right? There's got to be some bend and flex.
Yeah, exactly. In our season in Friedrichshafen, my first season, we could only run the A quick or the one and shoot. So we were restricted. Like, this is the top league in Germany and one of the top teams. We were restricted to those 2 sets, and that was it.
Oh.
And I was just like, I can't wait to get back to national team to be free of this, these shackles in the middle. There's no creativity, there's no freedom, to do anything, and the opposition knew exactly what we're going to do. And
yeah, amazing. Well, I'm going to point to that. So now you're on the court. Nice to see the big man back on. But there was a chat between you, the other middle, and the libero. Now, I love seeing the communication. You don't necessarily need to talk about what you spoke about, but
yeah,
that little communication. How important is it between the connecting the back row and the front row?
Oh, it's very important. The defensive system we present in the front line, our back row, our back line defense have to be on the same page. The defense that we put up in the block, in terms of block, allows channels, allows for areas of the court to be covered, and then relaying that info to the back line. They know where to stand, they know what's coming, what to expect, and then we've got a better chance of transitioning.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, the cover. So I'm seeing you. This is something that I like working on in my middles. Is like, middle's got a cover, right? You don't get the set. So that was a really nice heads up play by you there. You're making that effort to cover your fellow attackers when you don't get set. There's actually a phantom shoot, so you committed to that shoot on an out of system ball, which is awesome. Okay, so
covers. That's also a psychological play. Like, a cover is so selfless in the act.
It's so good. Yes.
And it's it tells your teammate, look, you go 100, and we're going to be there to cover you up when they do touch the ball. But that attack that I just did, that was the first attack of the game, and I did have a commit block against me, but I also closed the attack. Whereas if I go deep with any angle, better things happen when you hit high and hard. Good things happen when you hit high and hard, when you try and close the block, especially with a well-formed block in front of you. You give yourself less chance of scoring the point. So don't do that, kids.
Don't hit the glory.
Don't do what I just did.
Amazing. Well, listen, there's one piece, and maybe I should have waited, or we should wait until we do it, but let's have a quick crack at it. For you as a server, you get one opportunity to play defense. How important is it for you to make use of that defensive opportunity, that serve defense opportunity?
Man, I love that. As I said, I love defense, even the front line, the back line, just as much. We do get only that one chance, but you want to make sure that when you do have the chance, the free ball, the ball off the block, you nail it. And I personally, I really enjoy that aspect of the game. And just
yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to
no.
But maybe let's move on. I love that you appreciate and value that defensive opportunity. I think that's so important for middles to prioritize. You're not just a server, and then you got to be a pylon on the court. Like, you play a role in that defensive opportunity. So I think that's an attitude that middles, I encourage them to adopt more.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you there is, you commit to the middle, but then they do that kind of pipe slant. Can you talk me through a little bit of the psychology, because it's such a big part of the men's game now? What do you think about there when you commit to the middle, but then they run that second ball from the back court?
Your initial thought was like, oh, he got me. And then quickly after, you're like, all right, how can I salvage the situation, or be of, turn something
There it
good out of it.
is. You got him on that one, man. You had the patience.
Yeah, so you obviously, you're out of the middle play, but you can still have a pillow block, keeping your hands high, and um, try to get a positive touch out of the back row there. What did you just see?
So I know that I just saw a second. There's a second attack you delayed, and then you got a swipe, so you got that block. But it's all good. Sometimes it might be a little bit choppy. But I did just see a cutback by you. Did you see that as well?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, beautiful. So from an attacking side, let's go back to the attack. So you like to let it flow. So that's a part of your game that you just kind of let rip. Is that because you trust Arash and you just do that, or do you have any priorities that you think about when you're attacking?
Yeah, in attack, depending on the set, for me personally, if it's a push or a double, for example, I would want to let the ball sort of drift a little bit. Whereas if it's a closer, quick, one of the more stationary ones, then I would like to beat the block with speed. And then with the shoot is probably one of my favorite sets personally.
Oh, Rash, big boy. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So the shoot is probably one of my favorite sets. I don't know why. maybe
I was gonna ask why.
Maybe it's because it's probably maybe statistically more successful than the others, or yeah, not entirely sure. And there you go, the dump.
Rash is a pretty offensive setter, so he likes to keep that option for himself a little bit. That was an interesting conversation, but let's hop in. So behind the service line, man, let's go through your pre-service ritual. You seem like a very thoughtful guy. What do you like to implement from behind the line?
Yeah, so I have a little glance over to the coach if he's got a target for me. If not, then it's basically up to me where I serve. Then I choose a target. I bounce the ball 3 times.
Okay.
That's based on the three heartbeats that I play for, which is my 2 sons and my partner. And obviously, if we have more kids, maybe if we have 7 kids, then I'm gonna have to bounce the ball like 8 times. So
they're gonna have to extend the time for behind the line.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at the look at changing that one, but and then just going in aggressively, because it is a jump float. You never want to give a gift. Although my serve that I did give was meant to be a short serve, it ended up being a nice lollipop there for the libero. Probably the last person that you would ever want to serve a lollipop to, if you were to serve a lollipop. But yeah, it comes off sometimes. It doesn't at times.
That's all right, man. That's all right. Well, are you generally a float server, or do you spin serve as well?
I spin serve in my dreams. I spin served in the AIS, and then when I became one of the national team guys, then they really like specialized the float and told me to say goodbye to those dreams. And yeah,
Got it. Fair enough. Well, You played for the national team for a few years. How many coaches on the national team have you played for?
On the national team, so JU, John Uriardi, and then Roberto Santilli, 2, Mark Lebedew, 3, and now Marcos Miranda, the latest head coach for the boys.
Amazing.
So
And how's it like playing under Marcos?
oh, it's great. He's chill. He's Brazilian, so he's got that natural, vibe about him. He's got great energy. Such a positive guy. Very very experienced coach, both in indoor and beach, and very easy to work with. He's been awesome for us, and keen to continue that work with him.
Awesome. He looks
And
he
he
looks
loves Oz. He loves Australia.
There's an interesting connection. The Brazilians, also the Canadians, but the Brazilians and the Aussies get along really well. There's a huge Brazilian contingency here, so the lifestyle fits quite nicely.
Yeah. And when we versed Brazil in VNL, he was saying, like, I've worked with their coaches when they were, coming up the ranks for, like, he's worked with them for over 20 years. But he said, like, but today I'm Australian. And that just before the game hype up the guys. And he's a great guy. We're pretty lucky to have him.
Awesome. Okay, well, looking at this right now, you're standing at the net, just came on. What are you looking for right there in that moment? What are you thinking about?
Right now, I'm thinking block this guy, and
and he got
it happened. No, I'm joking. No. Right now, I'm thinking, all right, the middle is a threat. I'm going to front him wherever he goes, but the pass was off the net. So then my focus goes on to the outsides. And yeah, I was lucky enough to make that move out there, and he decided to hit it into my arm instead of the court. I don't know what he was doing, but he gave me a nice stat there.
Hey man, your hands are in the right spot. You take it. You take it. And we're almost finished the set, and I was saving it because I was hoping you're going to pass one. But I've seen you pass a few times. So can you talk to me about that? Is that a choice that you've made? Coaches bring you in, like not often you see middles passing. I love it.
Yeah.
Can you take me through that conversation of you as a middle passer?
Yeah, well, it sort of goes back to that idea of me loving defense and blah blah blah, and not wanting to be that one-dimensional player, and being available for any situation, anytime. And it's been a big thing for us as a team, making sure, all right, the net is ours, me and the setters, and there's the set. But yeah, so
thing of beauty.
Very
amazing.
comfortable with passing the short serves and with the hands and bump setting. We also train that a lot as well. So yeah, it relieves some of the pressure off the outsides. They've got a big task already, passing the Leons and the Leals and all these crazy guys that do 120, 130 plus. But then they also have to worry about the unexpected role, and that's where we can come in and help relieve some of that pressure, and so they can do their thing.
No, I love it, and I think that's where the game's got to go, man. Everyone's got to find a way to contribute in every point. So really, really great for you to take that pressure off the passers. I'm sure they appreciate it, man, and good to keep you engaged too, right? So you're in the play. You're not just checking out, and all you are is the hitter. It's nice to have you as a three-dimensional player.
Oh, that'd be the worst if you, like, imagine seeing that, like the passes there, and you're just checking out. You're just standing there. Nah, it's also a team play, making sure you got those areas of the court where the receivers can't get to. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, before we dive into some of the Q&As, um, there there's some I'm just very interested to ask you, maybe it's one, maybe it's two, but what's something that's really been important to you throughout your journey? It doesn't, maybe it's a life lesson, maybe it's something that you say to yourself, but what's something that comes to mind for you in your life journey that you can share with our younger athletes?
um for me, and I hope this is true if some of my immediates and the close people listen to this, is true. I don't think I've lost myself through the journey. I feel like it's with with the with the success and the quick success that had happened. um, I managed to, probably from those lessons that I've spoke about before, I managed to stay grounded in and throughout all the the world leagues and the world championships, and this and that, and doing interviews and autographs. Hopefully, I think I just stayed who I was always. But just the arena changed. It wasn't the grass anymore. It was Taraflex, and I hope to just keep doing that.
That we could have an hour long conversation, double, triple clicking onto that, but I'll follow it up. I'm tempted to do this, and I'm going to do it because very infrequently do people ask, Nemo, who are you? And share a little bit about who you are.
That's crazy because my my first year in Germany, I had written that exact those words, but in Samoan, on a piece of paper, and I stuck it on the door, the entrance, on the inside. Sorry, so it's the last thing you see before you go out into the world, which was like, who am I? Who are you? I asked that. I asked that every day, which made me, which motivated me to do things that were going to get me to where that was, whatever that was. Is what I was doing at the time helping that cause? I was asking those questions constantly, but I'm, I don't know. Oh, look, I'm Samoan. I'm Aussie as well. I'm born here, rep it hard. I'm also a father of two monsters, and just happened to earn money playing or slapping the ball, and has managed to support my family. That was a big thing. In sort of like a very ironic that I was able to, in my first contract, I was able to finish off the payment for my grandparents. They were building a house, and it was almost finished in Samoa, and I was able to help finish that off. I was a small part in that, but I was able to. Um, so yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
that's me.
Cool, man. No, I dig it. I love it. And that's, I with Phoenix. I want to explore who are you, and so I appreciate you sharing a little bit about that. So diving into some of the questions that the athletes have asked. So thanks to Lauren and Dimi for firing those my way. We're gonna bounce around on a few different questions. Okay, so we're gonna play whack-a-mole with questions. So, what can players do to help their game apart from training and weights?
Um, you can watch, you can study good players. That's what I did when I started. I uh, looked at all the players that I admired, and at the highest level, the professional level, and studied what they do. Why were they effective in this scenario, this scenario? Um, so especially now with lockdowns and things like that, and there was way more volleyball at accessible now with YouTube and things like that. So studying video is would definitely help your game.
Yeah, agreed. Well, question. I mean, are you watching the Olympics, man? You're playing against some of these guys. You know a lot of them on the court. Obviously, you're prepping to get there. It's a big part of the journey. You know, are you watching the games?
Yeah, 100% watching the games. Enjoying some of the upsets that's happening in volleyball, especially.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like it's crazy to see, you know, the guys that we play against on a yearly basis now. Um, like I'm sitting with the fam and we're watching and they're asking me questions that are quite like intimate questions with them, and how is he like playing against, like how is he as a person and things like this. So that is an interesting thing too. I have that intimate insight to some of those players.
Yeah, man, you're in the mix. You're world class. It's beauty. Um, Question number two here: how important is having an agent when playing overseas and looking for contracts?
um it depends. As I said, I didn't my first contract I didn't get through an agent, and when I signed with Berlin I also didn't have an agent at that time.
Hmm.
But in terms of the legal aspect, um and the market knowledge of the market and negotiating and all these things, it's very important, I feel. And there's a heap of agents out there that are looking for, and probably looking for, a lot of Aussie um, athletes too, up and coming athletes. So yeah, right now I think it's really important. But I was lucky enough to not need one. Lucky,
Amazing.
lucky.
How I also, yeah, well, maybe we'll there's so many tangents I could take. Let's move on. I want to keep it focused on the kids. They got some great questions here. How do you balance giving constructive criticism and hyping up your teammates, especially being the captain? I really like that question.
Good question. Um, I think the main thing is you need to know your players. You need to know your teammates beyond the court. How do you do that? Is just, I don't know, chill with them, like eat lunch with them, break bread with them, uh, know who they are on a different level, and in that way you're able to, when situations like that do happen on the court, you know how to approach those people in certain circumstances. Um, I haven't had a dummy spit at a teammate before. I don't think it's my style. It also comes down to your style and your character and things like that. But sometimes guys do need to get going. You know, that's when it comes back to knowing your guys. So good question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, when did you learn how to use visual cues to guide your gameplay, and how to decide what tactics you would use in any given scenario on the court? Now that's a pretty wide spectrum. So
Hmm.
let's pull it back to the very first one. You know, when did you learn how to use visual cues to guide your gameplay? Let's keep it on that one. Is that something that you've been consciously working on?
I would probably attribute that to like sports that I played before. So I played a lot of basketball, touch as well, like all these different kind of sports that demand sort of reading the games, reading the situations, and just transferring that way of playing into volleyball, knowing knowing what your opposition's about to do before they do it. Basically, that's the whole defensive mindset, is predicting, um,
Yep.
and doing your best prediction and living with the consequences. And that second thing is the biggest thing, uh, biggest development I've had from playing sport is living with the consequences. Not even right now. I don't care about what, like, the if I commit and he sets it out. You make a decision, you back yourself, and uh, you live with the consequences. Back then, I wasn't as easy, but now it's like, no, you made a play, you took out that option. Um, so
Yeah, no, that's a strong answer. I really like that. That's great. Thank you. Very specific here on the triple block. How do you guys adjust when the opposition set isn't pushed out? What's the communication with your
mhm.
outside to properly close the seam?
Yep. So our outside in the high ball situations, both sides, uh, they are responsible for setting the limit of the block or the edge of the block. And the other two guys blindly, and this is where trust comes in, blindly go to, like, make the move out to him, shoulder to shoulder, wherever he chooses to set the block. And then it's obviously the middle's cue, verbal cue, to wait, and then as he attacks or whenever the middle wants to jump, then you go as one. And it's pretty it's a pretty simple theory, um, but to apply it on the court does take time. It's very necessary skill in high level volleyball with the servers that we have today. There's a lot of high ball situations, and the responsibility is for the outsides. And the other two guys trust their man, and then go as one block. So to think of that as it's not a triple block. It's a triple block technically, but it's one. It's one block. It's one guy with six. Yeah. If one guy is a little bit out, then it's the block and the integrity of the block is as strong as its weakest uh, part.
Yeah, and in the men's game, I mean, triples are so critical to be that first line of defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. One person with six arms. Good. A couple more questions here, Nemo.
You.
What do you think separates the top few teams in the world with up and coming teams like Australia?
Sounds a bit ordinary, but experience. Um, the top teams in they've experienced all situations, and they know what to do in every situation, whether they're down by 5 or they're up by 10. They've been there, they've done that, and consistently they've done it. Whereas an up and coming team, um, who are still creating their way of playing, the dynamics within the team is also uh, being nurtured. Um, Whereas teams like Brazil, you know, they've I think they're probably the oldest team, like, on average in the world, but they're still chasing medals. They're still, because of that simple fact of um, yeah, experience and wisdom that they have under their belt.
And maybe I'll jump on the back of that one because I find that really fascinating. And something that I asked Arash was, well, public eye, oh, they're a young team, this and that for us, for our boys. And to me, I go like, okay, well, we got great athletes. We got some fantastic people. We got some great leadership, yourself included. You know, not in defense of that statement, but what do
Mm.
you say to somebody who's like, but they're a really young team that they're lacking experience? How are you carving your way with your team right now?
Yeah, I try not to fall into that, the label of, all right, these guys are young, and these guys are, so we can excuse, results. Personally, like, okay, in reality, we are a young team, and we are inexperienced, but that's not sort of where we want to focus on. And personally, where I put the attention to, we have guys that are young, yes, but are talented, and in the right systems, their strengths can be amplified, and we can work on their weaknesses as well. But yeah, some of the a lot of the interviewers at the VNL were, that was just a constant, like, they used to chime in a lot and say, all right, you guys are a young team, blah blah blah, but don't really want to dwell on that label. And
Good.
we have higher, um, demands for ourselves, and we're better than, using that um, as an
Yeah, I like
excuse.
that. I appreciate that, and I think that's really important. So, thanks for answering that one. Back into one of the athletes' questions, and I think you've shared a little bit about your family. You've shared about a few things, but let's ask this question directly and see where you go with it. As a Polynesian athlete, what are some of the challenges you'd faced, and how did you overcome
um, I think, yeah, I think back to starting volley, um, it, it may not be common knowledge, but in poly families, usually, um, you sort of go with the numbers, sort of thing. So there's not, you look at the amount of Polynesian athletes in rugby league, for example, in Australia, and then you look like professional, and then you look at volleyball. So where's a situation that's going to probably more likely to happen if you're poly? It's probably rugby league. There's not many volleyball, um, professional volleyballers out there in the world that are Polynesian. Um, there are two guys I know. Actually, no, Hawaiian is Hawaii is also considered poly.
it? Yep.
Um, I mean, yeah. Look at the US team. Um, they have probably 5, 6 polys in there, and so it's like, where is it gonna? Who's gonna start it up? Who's gonna sort of change that? Um, uh, Not even stereotype, but just the go against the grain sort of thing, and show some of the poly athletes that this is also an avenue that you can take. Um, we're not obviously not all the same build. Usually, it's like short, stocky, but there is a sport out there for the slim, tall polys, and that's basketball if you're fit, which I'm not, and volley.
Well, you're leading the way there, man, which is great. You're giving us something to look up to. So really appreciate you for that. Um, Listen, we've hit time. Um, I think there's been a lot of great shares. Really appreciate you letting us in to who you are. Maybe this one's coming from me. And I'll close it off to this, but it's challenging being a pro athlete, being a volleyball player or not, but let's just use volleyball because it's the sport we play. Traveling the world as a profession, and a big part of that is family, and you clearly have family as one of your top priorities in your life. How have you managed to have a family and be a professional volleyball player?
Um, it has been a a joint accomplishment, a joint decision with my partner. So when we found out we were pregnant with our first, I was ready at that point to hang the boots up and retire, content that I didn't waste the gifts that I had been blessed with. I did something with it. I made the national team. So at that point, I was ready to finish. But my partner at that time, I'm sorry, now, um, he was like, "No, you've got more to give in the sport, and you're not done." So, and then years on, we have two, and we've lived in Germany together. We've lived in Switzerland, and having a family and doing this profession, it's shown us that it is possible to have this crazy lifestyle. It's not normal, um, to be a professional athlete, first of all. Second, a professional volleyball athlete from Australia who's Polynesian, and also have a family and take his family with him. So we have it hasn't been easy, but it's also been very rewarding in the fact that it's allowed us to see different cultures and different parts of the world where I doubt if it was volleyball I would ever see. Um, and I've been very blessed to see. I've lost count of the countries that I've visited. Um, and like places like Egypt. Like I'm from Southwest Sydney, and I I just pinched myself every single time I went to somewhere new, because it's like you know it's
Yes.
crazy. It's crazy, and um, but it is possible, um, and that's it. I've been very blessed to have the support of my fiance and immediate family and extended family, which you can imagine is a lot of support. So
Love it.
otherwise,
Well,
it will not happen.
okay, man. One more. I can't help myself because I'm pretty sure I got a clip in my mind where the during VNL the videographer went over, and I think your partner, your fiance, was holding one of your sons, or you had your son, so they were there, and I just think it's such an amazing visual of you playing on the court and having your son or sons or family watch. What what do you what do you hope that they see in you when you're playing? What do you represent when you're on the court for your children?
Um, I hope that they would see someone that doesn't give up easy. Probably the main thing, because then if they see that attitude, they would be able to whatever pursuits they have when they get older. It sort of shows. It would show them, all right, he's done this, and I can also do this. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be volleyball. Doesn't even have to be sport. But that attitude of yeah, just not giving in easy, um, and just probably carrying myself in a way that would make them proud. I don't know what that looks like, but and they're probably not even aware of what's going on anyway. they're at that age where they're just doing anything. They're running around, probably not even watching the game at all. But yeah, that would probably be what I would hope they'd take from seeing their daddy out there representing.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, let's wrap it up there. Considering you do have kids, and I think we might have heard them a little bit at some point in time, which is sweet. We'll not move into a live Q&A. Okay, so we're not going to stick around a little bit like we did with the rash, which just kind of happened organically. But let's shut her down there. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Nemo. I really appreciate you, man. If you don't mind, just stick around for a little bit while people exit, and then we'll just do a little closing offline. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody who listens. Please feel free to let Nemo know on the socials what's up. Where can they find you on the social game?
Yeah, on Facebook, Instagram. That's about it.
Beautiful. On the gram, what's your handle on the gram?
It's Nehemiah.Mote, and that's it. Not really active in terms of content and posting, but active in reacting to a lot of stories and looking at random sports and whatnot. But I think Dimitri's
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat. It's locked in.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, everybody. And if you are doing the workouts with us, we'll see you on Monday of next week. So thanks all for tuning in. And then, yeah, stick around for a sec here, Nemo. And we'll sign off.
Thanks, everybody.